Hello and welcome back to the Building HVAC Science Podcast. We're here to help the two professions of building performance technicians and HVAC technicians better work together with the ultimate goal of making customers happy in the homes they live in and the buildings they work in. We had a great opportunity to speak with Grant Gunnison, who is the founder of zerohomes.io. As a quick overview, Zero Homes digitizes homes using smartphones and provides a whole home electrification service to homeowners. And with their software, they can provide quotes for up to 7 projects without an in-home visit: heat pumps, water heaters, electrical upgrades, etc. And they partner with local contractors to install projects and generate jobs, do the admin, and actually help facilitate QA. Right now, they're active in 3 states and they're looking to expand. So let's get into this discussion with Grant Gunnison of Zero Homes and learn more about simplifying home electrification and get insights from Grant.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Building HVAC Science Podcast. Eric Kaiser here, Bill Spohn virtually with me, and today we've got a special guest, Grant Gunnison from Zero. Welcome, Grant.
Thanks for having me, Eric. It's great to be here with you guys. Thanks, Bill.
You're welcome. We're going to meet each other in real life here very shortly. What's cooking there?
Actually, a couple of conferences. It's conference month in Denver, so got the Heat Pump Summit in about 3 weeks, and we also there's a home electrification summit also happening the day after that. So that'll be great. Great to meet you guys in real person.
So those 2 events, since Eric and I and you will be attending these together, they must be related to what you do. Otherwise, you aren't just like a professional conference attender, are you?
No, thankfully. Conferences are fun. I'm definitely an extrovert, but a day or 2 of a conference will wear you out for sure. I've spent the last few years trying to figure out how to simplify home electrification to be able to help homeowners understand easily how technologies can benefit them and to easily get them installed. And frankly, today it's a bit of a mess. It's hard. If you want to get this stuff done in most places in America, you're going to spend a lot of time doing it. And so it's not for the faint of heart, unfortunately.
Can you identify or discuss what makes it hard?
Totally. Yeah, let's maybe talk through the customer journey today. If you're a homeowner who's heard the word heat pump and go, oh, maybe I'm interested in what that might look like for my home. Typically, the first step is to get familiar. So maybe that's a little online research, talking to a couple of friends, maybe reading a couple of blog posts or something. That inevitably leads towards, I understand that this could be interesting and helpful for my house and make my life more comfortable. So you're going to reach out to some contractors. Finding contractors can be difficult depending on where you are. So if the market is a little bit more mature, there'll be lots of folks that would be happy to come over and give you a quote and the like. In other parts of the country, you're going to struggle a lot to do that. And so that's kind of the first step. The next step is, of course, then setting appointments, and everyone knows how that goes. You're going to do 2, 3 of these visits, and depending on the prerogative of the contractor, they could cross-sell you into gas, saying, it's really not going to work and the like. And it's not true. Heat pumps work in just about every climate in America. And so it's tough out there. People are going to spend 10, maybe 15 hours doing research, meeting with contractors, trying to come up with the quotes that they are looking for before they can actually start executing on a project. And folks just don't have that kind of time to sit around and collect that information. We all have busy lives. So we're trying to simplify that process and just make it easier to get started.
That sounds interesting. I'll say that's one of the barriers to this that I've observed is that it takes a very tenacious person to sometimes to get these projects done, even started, and a very interested homeowner. It's really great, I think, that you're trying to do that to make that process easier. Like anything, I hope it gets as easy as it can get. Where do you see people really having an easy time right now versus having a harder time in the process? Are there specific steps that you can break out that are easier or harder?
Definitely. And let's not lose sight of the fact that there are some areas in the US that are making a ton of progress. And it's really inspiring to see a lot of tenacious people going, you know what? Dang it, I believe that this is better for the environment, that it's better for me, and it's better for my wallet, and I'm going to make this happen. And they're pushing through. And I think Massachusetts 2 years ago did about 400 heat pump installations. Last year, they did 28,000. If that's not a good market signal, I don't know what is, but that's a far cry from where we also need to be. I mean, their goals are to do well over 100. We got a long way to go, but In terms of making it easier, I think the biggest challenge for folks today is finding someone that can provide a really well executed project and help them confidently go through that process. And that's a big educational piece. And today, really the primary way we educate people is sending contractors into homes. I used to run a general contracting business in Southern California. I've done hundreds and hundreds of in-home visits. And in LA, there's a lot of driving. It might be an hour each way to one of those appointments. And for those sales folks or contractors, it's soul crushing for two reasons. It's all non-revenue work. So if you're trying to go meet with someone so you can get another job, and you're spending hours trying to make up the time on the phone or doing what you can to be productive. But you might arrive to that home and not even be the right person to help them solve their problem. And so you spend all that time for not much. It's hard for contractors and it's expensive as much as it's hard for homeowners to get all the information they need. And cleaning up that educational process is really our goal. Doing a single digital visit is how we operate today. And we can provide quotes on not just heat pumps, but really all of the appliance end uses in homes. So homeowners don't have to have a dozen contractors come over, and just trying to simplify the whole process.
Why the name Zero?
Kind of fell into it a little bit. Here's a little bit of a funny story. The Massachusetts Clean Energy Center put on a competition back in 2020, and they asked some folks to figure out how to design a net zero building out of an existing one. So they gave us some schematics, plans, 50 data points about the house, and said, who can come up with the most cost-effective plan to do that? When I had just come off of grad school and I'd run my family's contracting business for a couple of years, and I said, okay, well, I know enough, I think, to be dangerous here, and let me see if I can figure this out. And all to say, once I dug in, I understood that there was 100 different ways to get this done. And I wasn't probably going to come up with the most cost-effective way by just doing it by hand. So I actually wrote a little algorithm to solve that problem and used energy modeling to figure out how to get the building to net zero and make all these different upgrades and whatnot. And I called the algorithm in the submission, which I think is still online somewhere, called the Zero Emission Retrofit Optimization. The acronym for that happens to be Zero. And I said, that's actually a pretty good product name. So what the heck, why don't we just run with that? And over time, I realized that's probably a pretty tough branding name because so many companies are called Zero. So we added homes on the end to that. So the company name is Zero Homes and the product name is Zero. That's how it turned out.
So you did mention over time. How long you been at this? And what's the scope of your endeavor? Colleagues, things like that?
I was in grad school working on some small satellites back in 2018, 19. And it sort of dawned on me one day that a lot of the imaging work we were doing on these small satellites, we could probably do on cell phones. Cell phone cameras are getting pretty good at the time. And I said, well, if we could do that, could I convince a homeowner to send me the information I need so I could send them a quote, thinking about the business that I had just come out of running my family's general contract. I said, dang, if I could do that, could I have sold 2 or 3 times the number of projects to homeowners? And that would be transformational for that general contracting business. But also, Mrs. Jones would be very appreciative of not having to have set an appointment with me at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday when she might have work and whatnot. And that light bulb went off for me. And we were building that technology in the lab. And I said, well, dang it, if I could make that happen, maybe we could really change the way that the whole sales process works and really empower the homeowner to get that information. And so I stewed on that for a little bit. When this competition came out, I think it pushed me over the edge a little bit to say, okay, well, let's see if we can really do this for not just one project, but maybe a half a dozen of them. And I ended up winning a couple of awards in that competition. And I think that really spurred the interest. So it was really about early 2021 that I really started to get pretty serious about trying to solve some problems in this space.
So you mentioned these competitions on here. One of them that really interests me is on your website, you talk about winning a triple decker competition.
That's the one I was talking about with the Massachusetts Clean Energy Center.
Okay. And that to me is really interesting because you're taking existing buildings. Like I see a lot of people in the industry trying to do new buildings and reducing the footprint of new buildings, which is great. But existing buildings are, to me, a huge lift because we have so many of them. That's really great. Now, can you talk a little bit about what you figured out technology-wise that you can do to some of these existing buildings, and how does the Zero product really apply those? How does it decide what to apply?
I think the first point is critical here. Unlike the car industry, the lifespan of cars is 15, 20 years. So we can just build our way out of the emissions problem there. As these cars get old and they get junked, people are going to pick up a new EV and we'll clean up the emissions that way. But homes last for 200 years, 250 years, maybe longer. America hasn't even been around that long, and we're seeing homes that are growing up with the country. So the unfortunate fact is we got to go fix all the old clunkers. And it's a lot of work. I think when I was first looking at this space, I said, oh, well, why don't we go build new great green buildings, only to find that that's not really going to make a dent in our emissions issue. And the problem that I'm trying to solve ultimately is the emissions issue in the single family home space. And there are 80 million of them. We got a lot of work to do.
That's a lot of tear down and rebuild if we're going to rebuild them all.
I mean, we certainly don't have the time or the workforce or the money, that's not even on the table for sure.
Or the resources, really. I mean, that's a ton of resources to build that many again.
Going back to the customer journey, how does it start? And who is the customer? Where are they? Are there any geographic limitations at this time? And then how does it start for them?
So we do have some geographic limitations, and that's not because of our technology. It's really because of our business model. And I'll get into that in a minute. But the customer journey for us starts with someone probably popping onto our website. You can book a 15-minute call if you just have some questions and want to chat with us for a bit, or you can just jump right into an assessment with us. And then assessment is really in two pieces. It starts just on your phone. We ask you to do a little homework. And really what we're trying to do is learn about your home, learn about the building. So that's a handful of photos going around the outside of your house, taking pictures of your panel, your appliances and the like. And then we do a pretty cool thing where you take a video scan of your house and we actually create a 3D model out of your home. And there's no special hardware required with that, which is really critical. If you're going to try to help the homeowner specifically, you can't mail them something. They need to already have it in hand. And so I was really intensely focused on how can we get this done with just cameras. There's some really cool technology out there with LiDAR, and there's some really cool companies being built using that. But that's going to be focused on helping contractors build better proposals and folks for homeowners and the like. So we focused on really using the camera system. It's a 5-10 minute task to walk through your house and create a 3D model out of that. And then we ask for your utility bills, and you just authorize your credentials, much like if you've used the product Plaid. You can upload your utility credentials, your app that way. And then we actually calibrate the whole 3D model using your utility bills. And so that way we get a really, really high fidelity view of what your home looks like. And then we jump on a video call and actually meet human to human with folks and say, well, look, what are your wants, needs, desires? How can we help? And now that we understand what your home looks like, we can very quickly then start having a real conversation about, okay, if you want a water heater, here's what that's going to look like. We know what your panel looks like and the breakers that need to be added. And maybe that doorway is not going to have great access. So let's talk about maybe moving into your garage, or all of those real conversations can be had with folks, and we can co-design together what the solution is going to look like. And I think that's a huge thing for homeowners, is they really get to understand the work to be done, and they can build a lot of confidence through that process. And again, we don't have to go to the house to do that. So the real benefit there is, frankly, we can work nationwide. Now, we're not working nationwide. Let me be clear about that. But we have the capability to do that. And that way, anyone in a rural area that might not have an auditor or a contractor even available to them, or a contractor would have to drive an hour to get to them, we can help them understand what the opportunities look like. And to me, that's a huge thing. We're really going to reduce the cost to educate folks. And ultimately, that's maybe the name of the game, is just helping people understand what the opportunities are.
So is that then you're matching the bills to the house, that you're truing up a load calculation there, or figuring out where reductions can be in the shell? How does that work?
Yeah, so there are a few other things we do on that video call beyond just talk to the homeowner. Of course, we're going to go and take a look at the window types, and we can understand if you have low E on that window. We'll look at the depth of your walls to understand if you got a 2x4, 2x6, et cetera, kind of wall in there. And so we're going to add all the construction data in so that we can actually do load calculations. And that, to me, the holy grail here is to not just give someone an audit and say, look, you could do a heat pump and some solar and a water heater and the like, but actually say, look, here's the full scope of work for your heat pump, your water heater, your solar system, and here's a price that's guaranteed, all in one visit. So today that's broken into a few different pieces, which ends up just being a ton of work. And so our goal is to say, can we collapse all of that into a single visit and have a real conversation with homeowners around what that's going to look like in their particular home. So they're not getting generalized advice, but they're getting very specific advice that's applicable to the challenges that they're going to face trying to get these projects done.
In some ways, it's like I've seen some apps that allow you to get custom fit clothing by scanning your body.
Yeah, do they have to send you a suit?
Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I have seen those. There was one a while back. You put like a spandex jumpsuit kind of thing on. It's got some markers all over it. So they get like a 1 millimeter accuracy scan of your body.
When you said the full scope of work and a price guaranteed in one visit, you mean there actually is one physical visit or the one virtual visit?
One digital visit. Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to differentiate what we're doing from virtual visits, which to me is really just a video call. And you can only get so far in that, in my opinion. You really, if you want to be able to provide a real scope of work to someone, you do really need to know what the building looks like. And so we're at least trying to differentiate one word and say, look, we're doing digital assessments to say we're digitizing your home, and then we're going to help you actually get the work done.
Nice. So how are you finding contractor partners to work with, and what areas are you really working in right now?
Yeah, so I think the opportunity for us to work with contractors is really symbiotic. We're not an Angie's List where we're calling up contractors and say, hey, do you want to buy a lead for $50 from us? When I call up a contractor, I'm saying, hey, we're going to start a program in your area. We're looking for quality folks that are doing one of these 4 or 5 trades. And we're just going to send you fully scoped, good margin work. And that to them is like music to their ears, almost to the point where they're going, wait, who are you again? That seems too good to be true. And frankly, it might be. But the focus here is to say, all I want to do is remove the things around your business that are costing you a lot of time and not making you very much money. So the windshield time, going out to sales calls, the marketing cost to actually get in touch with customers, we're just wiping off their plate. We're also purchasing equipment because we're speccing those jobs for them. So they don't have the admin of that. It just shows up at their warehouse for them ahead of the job. And then we're also processing rebates on the back end of that. So really what we're saying is, look, you get to show up at this job. We've scoped everything out. The equipment's there. You're ready to go. You're going to make $5,000 today. We're going to do a little QA session with you before you walk off the job, make sure everything's all set. And then you get to go home and you don't have to worry about it anymore. We'll worry about the customer relationship and the like. And of course, there are expectations, there's warranties, there's all sorts of things wrapped into that. But what we're trying to do is just simplify contractors' lives so they can make money and do what they're really great at, as opposed to all the other things that are periphery to their business that are necessary, but often don't lead to profits.
Do you have a certain profile of contractor either you would consider ideal or the ones that have gravitated towards your business model?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think it really goes into the previous question around how do you find contractors? We do the work of going into a market and surveying the field. We're going to go look at all the Google reviews, the Yelp reviews. We're going to go to the distributors and call them up and go, hey, who are the guys coming in often? Who are nice guys at doing good work? We're going to go to the OEMs and find their contractor list. We do a pretty deep, high top-down search. And then we start reaching out. And we're calling these guys, we're texting them, sending an email. I mean, text ends up being the best for definitely smaller shops. But we're getting in touch with these guys and just communicating what the opportunity looks like. And frankly, everyone's not up for it. I think the bigger businesses, they have processes, they have the way that they work. And unless you happen to have access to maybe a VP or the CEO or president, it's going to fall on deaf ears primarily. Also, frankly, we're not big enough to send them enough work for it to be interesting. I mean, if you have 20 trucks running a day, we'd probably need to send you a truck or 2 trucks worth of work a day before they're going, okay, well, that's worth the hassle of bringing on another partner. All to say that the folks that we work with, the firms are typically 3 to 10 people. We really want to have someone that's in the office that can pick up phone lines and whatnot. It really makes dealing with scheduling and all sorts of things better and helps the customer experience. That said, we're standing up this Electrify and Save program, and that's in the most rural parts of Colorado. And so the populations aren't big down there. The number of contractors is not substantial. So we're working with a couple of folks that are smaller shops. And again, the opportunity to them is huge. They're spending so much time driving around giving quotes to everybody. We said, look, we're just going to let you show up and make money. That is music to their ears. So I'm really excited about that. I mean, I have a lot of empathy for contractors having been one and how difficult it is to get everything done and have a profit at the end of the year. So if we can help them grow up their businesses and be more profitable and also just have a simpler life, then that's a win for everybody.
Do you want to say the markets you're working in?
Oh, yeah. In the tri-state area, which again, that's the name of a company, not three US states, but they have 40 co-ops. So we started in the San Luis Valley and Sangre de Cristo. We're also in Mountain View and starting in Gunnison. In those 4 co-ops, we also just launched in like Denver metro area. So we're starting to do a lot more work in Colorado. We've done most of our business, frankly, in the Boston area. I was in Boston when I started the business, so it's convenient to start there. And actually next week, we're also launching in the Chicago area, standing up a program there as well.
Nice population density, Boston, Chicago, in contrast to the other areas you're working in.
Totally. I mean, it's going to be a totally different ballgame in all of those places. And even Denver Metro, our installation partner here, they have 70 trucks. They do all trades in-house. That's a completely different situation than having teams of 3 guys that are single trade and they got to drive 45 minutes to get to a job. And that's not because of traffic. That's just because of the distance.
So that brings me to another question here. You said 4 or 5 different trades. What trades do you work with? What all trades are you working with here?
It's primarily plumbing, electrical, and HVAC, but we certainly are doing weatherization and air sealing. We may also start doing some windows and doors, particularly in this low income program for Chicago, just deferred maintenance and whatnot that needs to be dealt with. And the electricians also do batteries, but we're starting to bring that on as well. And then, heck, what are we up to 6 now? Also the solar guys. And so it can get complicated for sure. You're having all those cooks in the kitchen, but generally speaking, our projects are 2 trades at a time. It's usually a plumber plus an electrician or one of those 2 things. The electrician is typically the second.
So where can people find out more about this if they want to become a partner or want to talk to you guys, or even somebody just looking to learn more about the process?
The best place is our website for sure, zerohomes.io. The IO is a lot cheaper than the .com. So that is what it is. But there's a form actually on there for contractors. You can throw some information in there about the trades that you do work on and a way for us to contact you. And if you're in one of those 3 areas I just talked about, we'll certainly reach out and have a conversation about how we could work together. For homeowners, of course, there's lots of language on our website about how we can help and whatnot. And there's a handful of buttons on there to get started. You can schedule an appointment with us directly, and we'd be happy to help you either figure out what you're up against in your house, or if you're in one of our service territories, absolutely just help you get one of these projects done. And maybe the third thing is we are standing up these programs, and there's a few others that we're earlier with that aren't launching immediately, but we are actively looking for more program partners for us to help stand up new programs. That's kind of a big thing for us today.
Nice. Do you have an idea about how many projects you've gotten done? Because I'm thinking you've probably been doing this for 2 or 3 years now.
Yeah. When I first started the business, it was just me. I didn't raise any money for 18 months. Imagine trying to build a software product, trying to serve homeowners, onboard contractors, and actually manage installations. That's a lot for one person to do. So
It'll cause somebody to lose their hair.
yeah, well, of course, everyone can't see me on video, but yes, I did lose my hair in the process of that whole thing. I think that was genetic more than the stress, if I'm being honest. But my dad didn't have hair either. But yeah, so one customer a week was like, oh my God, that's too much. But we ended up doing a couple $100,000 worth of sales, just myself, just doing that really early days. And now we're serving 2 or 3 customers a day at this point, doing audits and the like. And so we're getting pretty busy and starting to grow up and have a real business here. So it's exciting to see. It's also really inspirational. I mean, we're really helping people improve their lives. And maybe I'll give you one quick example because this came up a week and a half ago. We did an audit for a customer down in the San Luis Valley. Again, very, very rural part of the state. This homeowner lives in a 2-story roundhouse. I mean, it's 1,000 total square feet. She's got a single direct vented furnace on the first floor. There's no heating system on the second floor. So in the middle of winter, when it's negative 20 degrees outside, she loses access to half of her house. It's too cold up there to even be in. And so we're through this program, did our digital audit process with her. We scoped out a heat pump, actually 3 or 4 projects for her. The heat pump specifically, after the incentives that are offered by Tri-State and the financing from the Colorado Clean Energy Fund, this homeowner is going to get a new heating system. It heats her entire house year round. She's going to pay nothing down for that. And even after financing the equipment, she's going to save $400 a year on her energy bills. To me, that is a win-win-win. And she came in to the program in the lowest tax bracket. There was absolutely no way that she was going to be able to afford this. And so the life improvement there, and she gets to save money. I mean, come on, It's a huge deal. And it's in a rural place that there's just no access to help. So that to me is just incredibly inspiring. I feel so lucky to be able to be helping those people and scale up these programs. So we just got a lot of really cool work ahead of us and excited to have a team of folks that are excited to do that with me.
You've built a team there all in Colorado?
Yeah, that's right. I've been really patient, but it's critical to me to have early teams in the same office to be able to solve problems together and just build a company culture. And so we're 10 people today in the office 3 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. And I don't think that'll ever change. And also hiring, by the way. So
You want to make a pitch for that?
yeah. And also hiring. We have multiple positions open at this point: engineering, operation, product. We're going to open a sales role. Shout out to all the folks maybe listening. If you're interested in working with us, give us a shout. Would love to chat.
A website or LinkedIn to find out about the hiring?
LinkedIn's probably the best place, actually. You could just jump right on our company page there, but I'm sure the links will also.
I'll put some links in the show notes to both the company and your profile too.
Great. Appreciate it.
And the company website and company LinkedIn. You mentioned a city back there that sounds like it must be your hometown. Gunnison?
Yeah.
Did I hear you say that?
Yeah. This is a very fun fact about my family. So my family 5 generations ago founded the town of Gunnison in Colorado. There's a guy that was a captain in the military, and they were doing an expedition to survey for the Continental Railroad route. There were 4 teams doing that, kind of a different. Anyways, he got the town named after him. And so it's real funny to be full circle. Now we're doing work back in that town, trying to electrify the whole place. So it's probably one of the most difficult places in the country to try to put heat pumps in. It gets down to negative 45 degrees there in the winter. And there are weeks where it doesn't get above 0 degrees there. So we have our work cut out for us for sure, but we'll figure it out. I'm really excited about that. I love a challenge, and it couldn't be a cooler story for me to go back and see if we can't help them out.
I'm glad we picked up on that. That is very cool. Eric, got any final questions?
I think we've picked Mr. Gunnison's brain quite a bit today.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Closing thoughts for our listeners, Grant.
Well, just thanks for having me on. I'm excited to get going with this work, and I think we have a really cool opportunity here to really grow up what today is, I think, a pretty nascent business. There's a ton of work to do and a really good opportunity, again, I think, to really improve people's lives, save them money, and reduce emissions. And we don't have a lot of time to do that. So we better all get busy trying to make it happen.
Let's work together. Perfect. Thank you for coming on the podcast. We look forward to having some of our listeners get in touch with you. I think that'd be really cool if that happens, and learn more about what you got going. And perhaps even some homeowners do listen to this podcast too. So there might be some interest there coming by.
All right on. And I'm excited to see you guys in real life here in a few weeks. So looking forward to it.
Sounds good. Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Building HVAC Science Podcast. Hope you learned something new here, and please check out the links. Grant's business website, zerohomes.io, is in the show notes, and also his LinkedIn profile. He's got a lot of great discussions going on, especially lately, with regard to this topic of electrification, the IRA, other things. And as we mentioned in the podcast, please take a look at the conference that we're both going to and presenting at, including Eric Kaiser, so all 3 of us, called the Heat Pump Summit. That's HEATPUMPSUMMIT.org. Please take a look at that too. The Building HVAC Science Podcast is a production of True Tech Tools Limited. In full disclosure, I'm a co-owner of True Tech, and the opinions voiced are those of my guests, my co-host, or myself, depending on who's speaking, of course. If you're in the market for any of the tools or test instruments we mentioned in the podcast, or anything in general, always take a look at truetechtools.com, TRUTECHTOOLS.com. See what we carry. We have an ever-expanding line of products to facilitate HVAC and building performance technicians. That's our role. You can use the offer code HVACBS for a nice discount. Signing off now from the Building HVAC Science Podcast, your favorite BS, Bill Spohn. Take care.